Hey everybody, welcome back into the channel. My name is Gary, and today we are doing another What Sold video. These are the items that sold in our eBay store last week. And last week we sold 254 items for $8,200.22. So that's just a slightly small dip from the week before, but still overall pretty good for where I expect us to be. All of our items sold on eBay. And I just want to go through and show you the ones that sold the best for us and just explain why we picked those items up and what to look for if you're out in the thrift store and you find those items, if you're considering putting them for sale in your store. So let's jump into today's video. All right, guys, this first item is a Polo Ralph Lauren Andrew pant. These are kind of an older style. You can see they've got the pleat on them. I like to pick these pants up if I can find them for $5 or less. They are pretty consistent sellers for me at $26 to $30. Sometimes you can get 35 for them if you want. A lot of times you'll see on the inside tag here where it'll have the style of the pant. These are Andrew pants. Sometimes you'll see Hammond pants. That's another good one to pick up. If you can find these in, say, corduroy or something like that, that can do better as well. But these, just an older style, but they still do have a following. People do still like these types of pants. And so we picked these up, and these sold usually within, I think, maybe 3 weeks that we had them for full $26.99 ASCII price. We sold some Carhartt Carpenter pants. Now, not all Carhartt is the same, and a lot of times the thrift store, as soon as they see Carhartt, they're pricing them up. So just be careful about what Carhartt items that you're picking up. Generic T-shirts or old, worn-out long sleeve shirts are just not going to sell very well. Even some of the button-down shirts that we find that are priced way up, we just pass right over them. Unless something's priced for $3 to $5, I'm usually not picking up just very generic Carhartt pieces anymore. These were a little bit different. These pants, you can see just the utility work pant. One reason that I did like them was that they're kind of the carpenter pants. They've got the cargo style pockets, or the pockets on the sides of the legs with the hammer loop. Those little pieces can make the overall piece do a little bit better. These sold for $29.92 on an offer, and they didn't take too long to sell. So, couple of things: get them for the right price, and make sure they've got some sort of features that help them stand out versus just a very generic type of item. These pants were new with tags. This is Marmot or Marmot, however you want to say it. I say Marmot. These are the Arch Rock pants, very lightweight hiking pants. We got these new with tags at a department store clearance sale, and I'll just scroll through here so you can kind of see the tags. For Marmot, if they weren't brand new with tags, I might pass on these just because they can get kind of saturated, and people use the pants outside, so they're quickly going to get dirty or stained or ripped. And so you just want to be very careful if you're going to pick up this brand in a used condition, because they can be very used very quickly. But here you can see the tag. It had the style name Arch Rock pant. I think we picked up 7 or 8 of these in different sizes. This was the first one of them that sold in a size 34, 32. So that's a pretty good size of pants if you're looking. We sold these for $29.92, and they didn't last long. We only bought these just a few weeks ago. So Marmot or Marmot Arch Rock pants, new with tags. I've got a lot of pants and jeans for you today. It just is the way it worked out last week. But these are some Judy Blue jeans that we sold, and we took an offer, I think, of $29. These are also new with tags. And, at one time, Judy Blue jeans were really hot. Every pair that we got into our store seemed to sell really quickly. We started finding more and more of them. We started finding some that had new with tags. In fact, recently I was at a thrift store locally, and there was 11 pairs of new with tag Judy Blue jeans. They were all very small, slim sizes. And so we passed on them only because they were priced at $20 each. And even new with tag jeans like this pair here just have slowed down a lot for us. We still pick up Judy Blues when we find them, as long as they're in good shape, and we still like to get them if they have newer tags. But um, buying them or buying them up, if the price is too high, we will leave them behind because they just don't command the same type of premium that we found that they have in the past. So Judy Blue jeans, good brand to still get if you can find them. This one might have been a little tougher just because of the skinny fit, but it did take a while for these to sell. So just be careful about paying up too much, even if they're new with tag Judy Blues. These were some pants that took a while to sell. A little bit different size, 40, 32. You can sell those size, but that's a little bit bigger. The reason I picked these up was mainly because of this tag on the inside, this Laurel Piana fabric. The brand of the pants is, see if I can find a picture of it. Here we go. It's very in Santorelli. So I don't know much about this brand, but I do know that the fabric being made of Laurel Piana can really help the value. It's a high quality fabric. A lot of times it's made in Italy. Those things tend to be factors that can increase the value on a piece if you want to look those up. These did sit for a little while. I think I found this pair and maybe another pair at the same time, and they've taken several months to sell. But had they not had the Laurel Piana fabric, it would have been something to just leave on the rack. But these did end up selling for $30 on an offer, and happy with that because I know we didn't pay more than probably $5 or $6. So you can find this Laurel Piana tag a lot of times in wool pants or wool suits, blazers and jackets. They may have that, and if it's paired with a really a good brand, it's definitely worth a look up to see what the comps are for pieces like that. See what they're selling for. This polo shirt is from a brand called Holderness and Born, and I don't remember if I've talked about Holderness and Born on one of our What Sold videos or not. I probably have, but just to if I haven't, I'll talk about it again. One of the better golf brands that you can find. I would equate it in the range of like a Peter Millar. Probably not quite as good as Roback. Um, Probably more like Peter Millar, Johnny O, maybe a little bit better than that. Don't usually have any problem selling Holderness and Born. A year ago, I would say it was a lot faster moving item. I think it's slowed down quite a bit. We found more of them in the thrift stores. I'd still pick up a Holderness and Born for $10, especially if it didn't have a um, custom embroidery or a logo, unless it's a very desirable custom embroidery or logo. This one was just a plain shirt, size medium, didn't have any embroideries or anything like that. I think we sold two of these this week, and both of them went to different buyers, but both sold for just around this $31 mark. So if a lot of times you can find these at thrift stores, don't usually price them up where we're at. Normally, the polos that get priced up where we're at is Nike and Under Armour, and anything that's a little bit less known, like this one, is getting priced at the basic price of around 5. We sold a pair of men's Ariat jeans. These were 36 by 36. I don't remember exactly how long we had these. Ariat's usually a brand we pick up just about every time we see it, so long as they're not more than you know, $15. I wouldn't pay $20 or more for these. And these aren't the Rebar brand. They're just actually they might be. It does say M2, so I'm not sure. A lot of times you'll see Ariat has like the Rebar branding on it, like an M2 or an M7. I think that has to do with the fit of the jeans, but whatever you can use to look them up. This says M2, and we put that in the title. These jeans sold for 30, so we probably didn't have these for very long. Size 36, 36, so they're a little bit longer. But again, Ariat's just a brand for jeans, especially that can do really well and has a really strong sell-through rate. We sold these BKE brand jeans. These were women's, and they were the style name Peyton. I don't know how long we had these. usually we don't buy a ton of women's jeans. Of course, I did just show you the Judy Blues, but BKE is another brand that we'll pick up when we find it for a good price at the thrift store. Usually, the women's jeans at our stores are $5 to $6. So BKE in men's and women's tend to do pretty good for us. Nothing huge. Like we're not gonna, you know, sell them for $50 or more, but in that $30 range is usually pretty good if we've only picked it up for five. This one had kind of a distressed at the bottom and on the back. So just take pictures of all those spots so that somebody understands exactly what they're getting. But BKE Peyton women's jeans, and we did sell those for $29.99, which was asking price. We sold these Vineyard Vines performance shorts. These were new with tags. This was part of our Vineyard Vines haul that we did back at the end of the year. And I knew some of the shorts that we bought would probably sit around for the first couple months after we got them. But now that we're starting to get into spring, I feel like we're going to be selling more of these shorts. Performance shorts can do better for Vineyard Vines, at least. They have a lot of just cotton shorts, and those can do okay, but the performance tends to do better for us. We paid $15 for these shorts, and they sold for, we took an offer of 32 on these. So we have several more of these performance shorts, and I expect those to sell over the coming months as we get into summer. These Lululemon pants sold this week for $32 on an offer. I'm finding more and more Lululemon pants all the time at the thrift store. I think they're just cycling through people's closets, and they're either moving on to different brands or they're picking up newer styles. But we find a lot of Lululemon pants now compared to just a couple years ago. Most important thing that I can tell you about Lululemon is, again, don't overpay for it, because I think the velocity is starting to come down, especially on the women's side when it comes to tank tops and just regular shorts. For menswear, it can do a little bit better, or at least it does for us. Things like golf pants, but things like golf polos have slowed down for us. So I'm glad that we find a lot of the men's pants. When you have the Lululemon pants and a lot of other Lululemon items, the hang tag is going to be taken out of the back. So you'll want to look for this size dot. And in order to figure out what the style name is, if that's important to you, look for the letters here where it starts with an L. That might be too big. So this is an LM5426S. You want to go from the L to the S. Type that into Google, and it's going to bring it up the exact style name for the item that you have. And in these, it brought up the ABC pants. So plug that into your title, and you'll be good to go when it comes to your listing. These were size 38, 32, just normal golf pants, and they sold for $32. Normally, Lululemon pants are going to sell within a month to maybe 2 months, depending on if they're in good condition, which we don't pick up anything that's not, or at least we try not to. If they've got stains or they've got problems, it's going to take a lot longer to sell these Lululemon pants. And I would expect moving forward, maybe in a year or so, these might only bring $20. So there's going to be a window here of Lululemon that is probably closing fairly quickly. This is a brand that I think is on the rise. This is called Stio, I think is how I would pronounce it, or I think it's how it's pronounced. It's a good outdoor brand, and we've only been finding this for less than a year. The first time we found this brand was at a garage sale last fall or last spring. I don't remember. But it was at a nice place, nice house in a nice neighborhood. And the garage sale had a lot of outdoor brand stuff, a lot of Patagonia, North Face, just things that you could tell, the items that they were selling were really nice. And they probably had 5 or 6 of these shirts and brands mixed in with that stuff. So it was one that we kind of took a chance on. We grabbed a few of them, and they had good sell-through rates on the items that we picked up. We had not seen any of this brand at the thrift store up until that point, and hadn't seen it again in the thrift store up until just recently. And Amy found 4 of these short sleeve snap-up shirts with the pearl snaps. They were all size small and medium, so we figured it might take a little while to sell these, but we sold 2 of these shirts to the same buyer pretty quickly within about a week of listing them. and they're just, they're good movers. I expect the other two to sell, this spring as well. But Stio, good brand to be on the lookout for. Just good um, outdoor gear. I would equate it to, Patagonia and North Face. Maybe not quite to the Arc'teryx level, but definitely worth a pickup if you can get it for $5 or $10. This one sold for full asking price of 35.99. We sold this Under Armour Project Rock sleeveless hoodie, and it only sold for like $20, but it is something that I think we found at the thrift store for probably 5 or 6. Most of the time, they're pricing up Under Armour things, so we don't pick up a ton of Under Armour anymore at the thrift store. Although when we do find it for $4 or $5, we will pick it up. A lot of the workout gear, just even plain basic. Workout t-shirts we will pick up. We've always had good luck selling those for $20 to $25 a piece for whatever reason. And we've had over in the past lots of repeat buyers and lots of multi item orders. So it's not uncommon for us to get a buyer that buys 7 or 8 Under Armour workout shirts all at once. I know a lot of people are kind of turned off by Under Armour, or their thrift stores price it so high that they just don't buy it. But I think there are a few items that Under Armour makes that are still worth picking up and selling. And the Project Rock stuff, I think, can still do pretty well. It will usually have this little bull skull logo on it somewhere, and it'll just be different types of pieces like a sleeveless hoodie. Other Under Armour pieces that we like to pick up is anything with camo on it. They make a lot of compression gear. If it has camouflage on it, we picked up a camo jacket in the Storm series. Golf um, Storm jackets can do well. Quarter zip short sleeve baseball windbreaker jackets can do really well. So there are some Under Armour pieces out there that I think are still worth picking up if you can get them for the right price. And this is one of them that I tend to think that can do well as well. We sold this Nike Cincinnati Reds short sleeve baseball pullover. So, like I was just talking about with the Under Armour stuff, one of the more popular baseball type items is short sleeve quarter zips or snap up windbreaker jackets. Being that it's late February, early March, spring training for Major League Baseball is getting ready to start. And early in the season, especially during spring training and in the first couple months of the season, jackets and sweatshirts can do really well for baseball. I think we've sold, a handful of baseball items over the last few weeks. This one was new with tags, and we found this at the thrift store probably for about $10, and it sold for 34 on an offer. We only had it for a few weeks, but I knew that just it was a more significant piece on Nike. If it has the tags, this 6-digit code here with the BQ3237, that will give you the style name of the piece, and you can include that in your title if you'd like. And then this 657 is a color code. So that goes with most Nike and shoes as well, is that style code there. But anything that's a significant brand piece like this Nike pullover jacket can do well. And being that this one was new with tags, I knew that it would sell just fine. This is a Royal Robbins long sleeve shirt that we bought at a clearance sale at a department store. I think we paid $10 for this thing, and it sold for $35.99. Royal Robbins is a been a good brand for us to resell. They make a lot of outdoor hiking shirts. This one was a little bit different. I don't come across their long sleeve button downs too often, but we've had good luck with this brand in the past. I think you can find hiking pants and hiking shorts too. Um, I would just again always just don't overpay for them. If you can get them for in the $5 to $6 range, you should be fine. I would say that most of their short sleeve button up shirts or um, hiking shorts are probably going to sell in that $20 to $25 range pretty consistently. Just look for overall wear, but again, Royal Robbins, pretty good brand that we like to pick up when we find it. This is a vintage Nike sweatshirt. I had to convince Amy to buy this thing because two of these rolled out on our new rack when we were at a thrift store one day. And we don't sell a ton of vintage Nike stuff. I don't know a ton about it, but I did know that when this silver tag or this white tag, it says made in the USA. I knew that those can do better. So just something to keep an eye out for on this on the Nike tags. This one got a lot of attention as soon as I listed it. I had some really low ball offers. I didn't price it up super high. It ended up we ended up taking an offer for $38. The weird thing is we have another one almost exactly like this. It's just in a red color and it's gotten zero attention. So I'm not sure the tag is exactly the same, the condition's the same, the graphic on the front is just slightly different. But I think that's just sometimes how it goes on eBay. Is you can put up two almost exact items. One's going to get a ton of views and offers, and the other one may sit and not get any views or offers. So I do expect the other one to sell eventually, and we'll wake up one day and all of a sudden it'll be sitting in our solds ready to ship out. But vintage Nike stuff can be really good. Do your work and your research to figure out if what it is. If you see it, I think these two sweatshirts were $10 a piece, and that's why we picked them up. Um, Normally, if this was a more modern shirt, we would have definitely left it. It's really faded. It had some little grease stains on it here and there, but it didn't have any holes. It didn't have any rips or tears. So I felt like it would sell, and so I made sure to let Amy know when it sold that it did sell. Then she reminded me that the other one hadn't sold. So that's the way it goes sometimes. This is another sports piece. We find a ton of University of Missouri items where we're located in Central Missouri, and we pick up a lot of it when we find it, especially if it's on a nicer piece on a Nike tag, or even some Peter Millar and Lululemon will find some Mizzou items. But this was a long sleeve quarter zip, and it's got kind of this alternate logo. If you're near a school or professional team and you find a lot of sports items, I would be leery of a lot of it. But if you find things that have alternate colors or alternate logos, they can do really well, especially if they're paired with, a brand like Nike or, like the Lululemon or Peter Millar or Johnny O. Those types of items can do really well with the alternate colors, alternate logos. This one sold pretty quickly for 35.99. This is a Travis Millar. I'm sorry, not Travis Millar. Travis Matthew. So mix between Peter Millar and Travis Matthew. I had them both in my mind. Travis Matthew cloud flannel shirt. I can't remember if I talked about this on one of our previous videos, but again, this is a new tags item that we bought at a clearance sale. It sold for 35.99. Travis Matthew is becoming again a tougher brand to resell, especially for very plain, polos is what we typically find the most of. You find a gray, solid colored polo, it's going to be really tough to sell. If you can find one with a design like an American flag, or I've found a few that have like a state flag on it, like Colorado or Arizona. Those can do really well for Travis Matthew. Plain T-shirts can be tough. Plain golf shorts and golf pants can be tough. This piece was different because one, it was new. It's a flannel shirt. It's a really soft material, so it did well. But you'll find a lot of Travis Matthew, and just be very picky about what you pick up. It needs to be a more significant piece in order to buy one and resell. We sold these Under Armour shoes. These were some shoes that I actually bought for personal use, and I just did not like the way they fit, and I didn't like the way they felt once I got them home, even though I tried them on in the store. So I think I wore them one time and then just decided they were still new enough. I was going to just resell them, and they sold pretty quickly for $35. Under Armour shoes, if they've got any wear on them, it's going to be pretty tough unless they're a very significant shoe. But these were fairly cheap to begin with, and but it just goes to show that, and you might have stuff sitting around your house that might be good candidates for putting online and selling, especially if you're starting off new. One of the things that we did when we first started selling on eBay was cleaned out our closets and said, instead of donating these things, let's try selling them on eBay first. And we were really surprised about what sold, and that kind of sparked us to say, hey, if these shirts can sell and these items can sell, then what's at the thrift store. And so that was before we started consuming any content online. And once we did that, we learned a ton more about this. But just an idea. If you got stuff in your house like these, you might throw them up online and see what happens. Another area piece that sold is this fire resistant shirt. Found this at the thrift store for about, I think, $7 or $8. And you'll see this little FR symbol here. It's stands for fire resistant. And these pieces, I think I've talked before, really good for people who work in industries, that need the fire resistant material, whether it's, I don't know, welding or electric work or whatever the case is. Some of those industries need some protective clothing like this, but just a long sleeve button down shirt. I usually like to take pictures of all of the material tags on the inside, talking about what the material makeup is and all of the warning labels and things like that. Ariat, great brand for jeans, good brand for fire resistant. If you find fire resistant jeans, they can do really well also. We've found these fire resistant shirts like this with company logos or company embroideries on them, and we still pick those up. They sell just fine. Somebody can put a patch on them. Somebody will wear them with somebody else's logo on them. It's no big deal. Still worth picking up, regardless of if they have patches or logos on them. This is a really good brand to find right now. This is called Poncho, one of my favorite brands to find. Don't find it a ton, but we have seen two or three items come through over the last couple of weeks. Here's a picture of the tag. Not very assuming. This one actually had some magnetic pockets. It's just a short sleeve button up outdoor shirt. You can find most of the ones that we've found have been these, outdoor type shirts, very soft, lightweight material. I You could kind of think of it like a Columbia PFG type shirt. Just you can tell the quality is a lot higher when you pick one of these up. Again, just remember this tag. Poncho is the brand, and brand new, these shirts can sell for over $100. So like I said, we've only found a few. This one was pretty worn, had some pilling on the front, just looked like it'd been kind of snagged a few times, but we clipped those little pieces as well as we could, and it still ended up selling for $40. And we only had it listed for maybe 3 or 4 days before it ended up selling. So really good brand to keep on the lookout for. Make sure you pick these up whenever you see them. Next item that we sold is this Frank and Eileen. This is a women's polo shirt. Here's the tag. I can't say enough good things about Frank and Eileen. If you find this brand, it's almost always worth a pickup. I think we've normally just found their shirts. I know we sold one just yesterday, a linen shirt. This one, I don't know if it was linen. No, it's 100% cotton. They're made in the USA, or at least most of the pieces that we have found are made in the USA. And not much else to talk about. It sold for $45 on offer. I think we had it for, a few weeks, maybe a month or two, but it was listed normally, through the winter time. So I don't expect it to sell until, right now when it starts to become spring and summer. But really good brand. Keep an eye out for Frank and Eileen. I found this vintage Woolrich jacket with the fleece lined at a thrift store. I don't really remember where I found this at, but it did not have a size in it, so we listed it based on the measurements. There's a really blurry picture. That's too bad. But you can see here the tag on the outside, and then here's the tag on the inside. Woolrich, they make a lot of modern stuff now that you really isn't worth picking up. If you can find some of the more vintage pieces, older pieces, they can be worth picking up. This one had kind of a wool lining on the inside with the zip and the button up, and I just thought it was a cool piece when I saw it, and I figured it would do pretty well, and it sold fairly quickly. We took an offer of $51.29. I think it was actually a seller offer that we sent out to an interested buyer, and they accepted that. So $51, and I think we picked it up for, I know, less than 10. We sold this Caterpillar insulated parka coat jacket. This one is one of the coats that we picked up in a big haul that we had from a local connection. And we had sold probably 40 to 50 of these Caterpillar coats over the last year or so. This one was one of the different ones. It was a brown color. Most of the ones we had were black. This one was in a 2XL size. Caterpillar is a heavy machinery company, and the clothes can sometimes do well, like things like normal t-shirts or lightweight hoodies. Used, they're going to be pretty tough to sell for more than 20 bucks. We got several of the new hoodies and lightweight shirts that sell for around 20 to $30. These parkas were kind of the prize of the haul that we had, and this one sold for 68.39. Some of the parkas that we had, the really heavyweight ones, sold for close to 100. And I know we picked these up for around the 20 to $25 mark. um, I wouldn't hesitate to pick up Caterpillar stuff new with tags if you can get it, for these jackets in the 20 to $25 range. You could pay more for them because they're going to sell in the 70 to $100 range. So it just depends on what your margin, how much you want your margins to be. But these have done really well for us, kind of this quilted interior. And we have a handful left, so I would expect that the sales of them will slow down over the next few months, and then we'll sell out as we get closer into fall later this year. And the last one we had is this Patagonia H2 No rain jacket. This was a piece that was really priced up at the thrift store. It was, I think, close to $30. Normally, I'd have just left it, but I knew that these can do better. I actually bought one for personal use a couple of years ago when we went on an Alaskan cruise, and it really came in handy because that entire cruise it rained, and I wore this jacket a ton. In fact, I remember wearing it on a couple of our excursions, just walking around like downtown Juneau, and we walked around a couple of the other places in Alaska that I can't think of right now. Skagway, maybe. So that was a fun trip, and I used that Patagonia jacket, and I still have it. Found this one at the thrift store for $30, and it took um, probably about a month and a half, maybe not quite that long, to sell. We got a $95 offer on it, and it sold this last week. So um, hopefully, if you can find one of these, I don't know. Yeah, here we go. Patagonia will have, under the regular material tag, they'll have this smaller tag, and it has this STY number. So if you type in the 83802, that'll give you the style for most Patagonia pieces, and then you can put that into your title like we did up here, and that'll help. I know that when I was searching for a rain jacket, I was able to go on the Patagonia website, and when I was doing my research as to what I wanted, that particular piece, that style is what I searched for, and I was able to find those pieces that use that style in their title. So, just a tip there: Patagonia stuff can be really good when it comes to jackets like this. Basic items for Patagonia, maybe not as much. Definitely wouldn't pay up to $30 for just anything, but I knew this piece could do well, and luckily it did, and it did so pretty quick. So those are the items that we sold this last week, or the best ones we sold last week. I hope your guys' sales are doing well, and looking forward to answering any questions in the comments. I really appreciate you guys checking out our videos and asking questions. I enjoy seeing those, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much.